Hello guys, welcome again. With simplicity at its core, the Idiployer Mp2.3 is designed to be simple, feature-rich system that can be deployed across multiple industries. In fact, these systems can be installed on a variety of structures, such as rooftops and vehicles. To further reveal the revolutionary scope and potential of the Idiployer Mp2.3, I would like to invite the founder and CEO of idroneimages, Mr. Peter Campbell. Peter started off as a remote drone pilot, quickly moving up the ladder to build a large client portfolio by performing aerial surveys and inspections across the construction and telecom industry over a period of 4+ years. This experience led Peter to pivot towards establishing a business in drone automation, which is known as iDrone today. idroneimages was founded in 2018 by a group of like-minded drone enthusiasts who wanted to show people how drones UAVs can transform a business operations. They now help SMEs and businesses integrate drones into their operations to provide the best image capture and data analysis solutions. With a team of experts that understand not only the technology but also its applications within specific industries, and furthermore the different challenges each operating environment presents, idroneimages is able to adapt to the client's needs and specific requirements while operating some of the most complex and highly functional drones in the market. I am aware that everyone here is eagerly waiting for Peter to come over and blow our minds away. Peter, over to you.
Thank you, Havish. Great introduction. Really appreciate that. It's fantastic to be here today on this event. I've watched from the beginning, and it's been some really good drone service providers, software providers, hardware providers, and seeing all the technology and seeing that we're all on the same journey, we're all driving to the same end goal has been fantastic. So as Havish said, we've gone on a journey over the last 4 years, I guess. So we started our business as drone operators. So across the UK, performing surveys, inspections, 3D modelling of buildings and telecoms industry. And over that 4 years, gained a breadth of knowledge around the drone business and focus a lot on providing our clients with a full package solution. And as Nitin has said at the beginning of the presentation today, that COVID-19 and the lockdown process that we've all had to endure has also gave us time to slow down and think about how we can now pivot our business towards automation. It was always a long-term vision for us, but our clients started to say to us, okay, so if we now can't have a drone pilot on site due to COVID, how can we now automate this? Or how can we prevent the slowdown of our need for your services in the future if this happens again? So as Havish said, we had a lot of skill base within our pilot, within our drone pilot fleet. So we had people that had experience in robotics, automation, coding, and we just thought to ourselves, right, let's all get together and think about how we can now automate what we do. So we performed a huge amount of research in the industry. What was already out there, what systems were available on the market, what software was available. And what we found was we had to go to a number of different places to find that full package solution. So what we set about doing was building a one solution. So a docking station that had the software, the drone, and had the capabilities of performing the data capture that the clients needed. And it's with that we built the Idiployer docking station. So it's quite a rapid 18-month period of prototyping and building different systems and getting it right for the clients. And a huge part of that process was listening to what the clients wanted, listening to what drone service or solution providers wanted. And with that, the Idiployer system was born. So I'd like to take you through what our system does, how it can help you, and then open up for questions at the end to discuss more about our system. So from the very beginning of our research, we wanted a simple approach, and simple and simplicity is what we live and breathe every day. So whether we are designing new systems or coming up with new ideas, it's all about, okay, that's an idea. Now, how do we simplify that? And how do we keep it as compact and as easy as possible for our end users? So simplicity is one thing. We need to make sure it's scalable, because affordability and scalability is key to this industry and the growth of the industry, as Nitin described at the beginning of the session today. Having a docking station that costs £100,000 to £200,000 is just not scalable, and that's where we've pretty much kept our focus on. All of our systems are simple, scalable, and affordable for end users. So how does our sort of roadmap look for the next 3 to 4 years, really? So we have a 5-year roadmap that we work to, and the present day was about, okay, we've got a solution. How do we now prove that concept? And we'll talk later on in the session about how we've taken our current system and our current integration and testing that system in UK airspace to help gain that regulatory approval for the systems, and also gain a lot of feedback about how the system performs. So the present is very much about, okay, we're in this now, we've got a solution, we've got off-the-shelf drones. It's about the integration and the research now to establish the next development stage of the product. So later on, I will talk about the next stage of our development, but we're always thinking about, okay, this is solution A. Solution B needs to be, what else is our clients asking for? So if it's a weatherproof drone, is it a drone that's a system that's stackable for multi-drone use? We've got a wall of ideas, and we're placing that within our development bubble, and that's where we continually work on them developments and constantly listen to feedback and client engagement to develop the right solution for the future. And that's where we touch on now the future, and where do we see the future of drone automation? Because when we started 18 months ago, the vision of where we thought we would be is just been expedited so quickly. We've gone to market quicker than we ever expected to, and the industry is moving quicker than we'd ever imagined. So we need to stay in touch, and we need to continue advancing our systems, and look far ahead to the future about how can these systems be integrated into airspace across the world. We'll talk more about what we're thinking. We'll talk more about the regulations that will come alongside that and how we see that playing over the next sort of 5 years. So in the present, we've really focused on that simplicity message, and you'll hear me say that a lot. And a lot of our clients said to us, we want a docking station that we can just pick up and move to different locations. We want a docking station that has very low maintenance and very little need for regular maintenance, so we can leave it on a roof, leave it at a remote location. We don't need to worry about it. And part of that key message we took back was, okay, let's think about how we can remove robotics. So battery swapping or positioning the drone into the docking station. There is always going to be a need for a solution with robotics, but what our clients are telling us is they don't need it, and there's a huge market out there that don't need robotics. And that's how we've sort of worked really hard to develop a battery charging solution that doesn't require the removal of the battery and doesn't require swapping of the batteries, because there is a market need for that kind of system. And secondly, we've focused a lot on safety of the system, and it's not necessarily just about the flights, because I know Flightbase and their software has amazing, incredible sort of safety mitigations for return to safe location, etc., and the precision landing, fail safes. We then need to think about, okay, how do we now need to make the docking station safe if it's been left in a remote location or on a roof? So that's why we looked at developing different fire suppression systems and different security systems that integrate within the docking station. And as I touched on, it's about being compact and lightweight. Only 35 kilograms for our docking station. It can be picked up with one person if need be, but two, and put into the back of car or van removed to different locations as and when the user desires. So it's not a big chore to take that docking station and move it to a second location. It's very simple to achieve. And likewise, it's very easy for our docking station to be attached to a roof or attached to a location, so it's secure there. So that's our sort of current system, and that's where our mindset's always be around that simplicity, fully integrated, can leave it on its own, and able to be secure at that location. We then think about, okay, what else do our clients need? And our first sort of 10 systems that went out to our clients, we gained a lot of feedback around what do you need next, and what came out really loud and clear was that the data is really critical. So the flying bit's the easy bit. It's about, okay, we've got this data, how do we now automate that process? So the data coming from the drone up to a cloud, and then from that cloud, what do we do with it next? How do we get that into software processing applications so the end user just gets the data that they need? And that's where that fully automated solution will be realized. And we're not always going to achieve that with our current docking station and our current drone use in terms of the Mavic 2 series. So we need to think about more advanced drones. We need to think about flight time and the development of redundancies within that system, because a key part of some of the regulatory approvals for the future are the redundancy within the drone. And as a lot of you will be aware, the Mavic 2 series has no redundancy or very little. So we're looking at, or we already started developing a docking station for the M300 series, where we have dual IMUs, we have dual batteries, and it has a lot more redundancy, which ticks some of them boxes for future regulations for these systems in airspace. And I've already touched on the automation of data, the image processing of data, and we're working with some really key software providers to try and integrate that into the whole process. So you just click in the flight button, it's got the data, it's sent it to the cloud, and it's being processed. So these are the sort of developments we're working on, and some of the most recent projects, which we'll go through later on in the session, but quite a recent development for us is working with a police force in the UK to help develop these systems and to understand their place above people, above buildings, and in controlled airspace. So that you'll hear more about that in the future, but that's sort of hot off the press. So looking further ahead, and we're always, as I said before, thinking about the future. We're talking 5 years ahead about how we see docking stations, particularly in the UK and Europe, how we see the place for docking stations. And our vision is that there will be a central command and control hub where these systems will be used as a service, as an on-demand service. So people can book or request data for a specific location or a specific building. That data may already be available. We may have already captured that data, or they would request data live from that location, and it's controlled by a central location, and then the data is just presented to them. So that's our sort of vision for 4 to 5 years. And then moving on from that, with our docking stations, we're always very clear from the beginning around our simplicity is to keep them very modular. So we know that our vision was that we would have a solution where we could stack the docking stations. So they'll be stacked on top of each other. We'll have one of the units will be the mother control system, and we can just send multiple drones from these docking stations. And our design has allowed us to sort of see that vision for the future. So I think Havish has got a little poll that we're going to put out there just to try and get a sense of how you feel about the regulations and where you see the regulations changing over the next sort of 3 to 5 years, Havish.
Have the poll on. So the poll is, when do you expect to see a DIAB system automation regular feature in our skies, right? So there are a lot of options from 6 to 12 months, 12 to 18 months, 18 plus months, or more than 2 years. So please go ahead and select what you believe, and we'll just give you 30 seconds to do that. So let us just check the results of the first poll. Okay, so Peter, most of our audience believes that they will see something like this in the next 12 to 18 months. 50% of them believe that, and the other 50% believes it is going to take more than 18 months to get to this point.
Yeah, and I guess that mirrors what I was discussing earlier, and that's why our roadmap has been designed as it has, because we want to work really closely with helping develop them regulations, and we'll talk about what we're doing in the UK to assist that. But yeah, really interested in Poland. I think it's loud and clear across the industry that we're about 18 months to 2 years away before these are truly realised. So,
Great, Peter. So I guess now our audience is quite knowledgeable about when to expect them, with the regulations being very clear about it.
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So, yeah, so I just want to take you through now some of the design features of our docking station. And as I said at the beginning, simplicity in design, functional, it's packed with features. So, you know, this, as you're presented on these slides here, you can see, you know, how small the docking station is, and how we've compacted everything into such a small system. So the development of this docking station has gone, you know, from no attachments on the outside to what you see today. So we have weather systems, we have the antennas, beacons, and all of the attachments that enable that docking station to hold everything. So literally just one thing needs to be picked up and moved if you need to move it. It's all attached to the docking station. And a lot of feedback has come from our drone service providers who have our docking stations, and that partnership with our providers was about, you have the early adoption docking station, tell us now what you need, tell us what works, what doesn't work, and we've worked really hard to integrate them kind of systems. And you know, I don't want to overdo polls, but Havish is going to just pop another poll on there just around what kind of features you would want to see on a docking station, and what's important to you to have on a docking station to enable that full autonomy.
Yes. So, Peter, we already have the poll going, and most of the votes are for security, tamper, and alarm systems. And the next highest vote is for weather reporting.
Excellent. Okay, yeah, good. And again, it was loud and clear around alarm systems. So that was initially what our client said. Okay, we're going to put this in a remote location. We want to know if somebody's tampering with it. So listening to that feedback, we designed a number of features, or integrated a number of features into our docking station. So firstly, we've worked with a company called Helios Fire Systems in the UK, who have an AMFE system. It's basically an automated mini fire extinguisher, very responsive, very accurate, and provides us with data when that extinguisher has been activated. And I'll give you a demonstration of how that works in a moment. We then integrated a alarm security system. So a simple tap on the docking station or rocking the docking station will trigger the alarm of the system. It will then send an alert to your dashboard or to your mobile phone. And if it's then touched again for a second time, it will be a really loud, audible alert at the docking station. You will also be alerted by phone that it's been tampered with. Part of this security system is that it doesn't give you false alerts. So if it's very windy and the docking station rocks, you won't get a false alert. It is a physical tamper. And then likewise, if the box is opened at the front or the rear, you'll get the same alert. Embedded into your docking station is a GPS locator. So if it's moved outside of a preset geofence, you'll be alerted that that docking station has been moved. You should know this already from the tamper alarm, but you'll be alerted where it is so you can track the location of that docking station. And lastly, it was sort of the third thing that clients said wasn't so important, because a lot of our docking station joint service providers are putting these docking stations in locations which are monitored by CCTV. But we've also integrated a CCTV camera inside the docking station, and we can install one on the outside of the docking station as well, so you have a full view of all times of the docking station live. So I just want to show you an example here of the fire suppressant system to give you sort of comfort that your docking station is on a building from an insurance point of view, and from a tamper point of view, that you know that if there was a fire within the docking station, you will be alerted for one, and secondly, the fire can be extinguished very quickly. So this is an example of an enclosure where there is a fire detected over 68 degrees. The bulb will explode and immediately extinguish the fire. So we have 2 of these systems in each docking station. They are capable of suppressing LiPo battery fires, and we have one at the back, which is located above the control systems. So touching on the second one, and probably most important one from the poll, was around weather stations. So we did a lot of research and a lot of talking to clients around exactly what they needed from a weather station, because there is a plethora of different suppliers, off-the-shelf suppliers, and all very much cloud-based systems. And looking at the data that was providing us when we did our testing, was that some of that weather data was 2 or 3 minutes old. And as you can imagine, particularly in the UK and Europe, a lot can change in 3 minutes. It can be raining or not. So we've developed a weather station which is connected directly to the docking station. So you know at the location of that docking station exactly what the wind speed is, if it's raining, yes or no, and then the temperature, the ambient temperature outside. So with that live data that's connected to your dashboard, the FlightNow user interface, you can then establish a fly no fly response based on that weather input. So if the wind speeds are too high, then you wouldn't be allowed to trigger that mission. It just helps with that safety of flights and that true knowledge of what the weather situation is at the docking station. And some of the initial questions came back around the wind speed being on the docking stations, and clients requested, well, what if the wind speed's higher up, at higher altitude? And a lot of that data is readily available through normal metadata, and you can get that data of the wind speeds. What was important for us and what was critical was the landing wind speed. So at that 1.5 meter height where it's making that decision, can I land or not, or can I take off or not, that wind speed at the docking station height is really important. So just moving on from our docking station, and this is a really interesting sort of paragraph that was from PwC in the UK, who did 4 years ago did a sort of insightful document around where they see the drone industry in 4 years' time. And there was something that's always really stuck out to me, is that the last sentence, which is this is just the start. And I think that's where we are with automation. We are just at the beginning. And that back then the industry was predicted to be worth 32 billion by 2024, and that's already, as you've seen from the Insight data earlier today, that them figures are already exceeding their numbers. And automation is only going to assist in that growth of the industry. So I spoke earlier about some of the projects that we're doing. So we've partnered up with Catapult in the UK, who are an accelerator for innovators like ourselves. And we've been working really hard over the last 12 months particularly to help shape the future of the regulatory pathway for drone-in-a-box systems. So we've been doing a lot of trialing, a lot of testing, a lot of research, and a lot of development of our product to help assist the CAA in the UK write some of the regulations and approvals for these kind of systems. So I'm going to show you a video about what we've been doing.
Connected Places Catapult are the UK's innovation accelerator for cities, transport and places. As part of the DFT-funded Drone Pathfinder Catalyst programme, we've been working with idroneimages and the UK's Civil Aviation Authority to show how innovative businesses can test and bring their products to market more effectively. So, let's hear about idroneimages and their automated drone-in-a-box solution.
So idroneimages design, build and manufacture docking stations for drone service providers around the world. Our docking stations offer a fully autonomous solution, from mission planning to the charging of the UAV, and this can all be controlled via a simple user interface. We have clients that use the systems and the docking stations for progress reporting of a construction site, perimeter security of a prison, for example, and also for inspections of solar farms in remote locations. We've been working with the CEA and Catapult for the last 6 months to try and build a body of evidence that enables automation for the future, and a part of this trial is to gather that significant body of evidence that the CEA needs that the automation that we provide from our docking stations is safe in the UK airspace.
So Drone Defence offers drone detection and mitigation solutions. The purpose of the body of evidence is to allow the CAA to approve effectively BVLOS flight. So we need to demonstrate that our combined hardware-software solution meets their safety and requirements. In order to do that, we need to do testing in a safe environment to gain that evidence to then submit to them as part of our safety case.
Automation is at very early stages. So our system is designed to be proving the use case, but where we see the future of these docking stations is they will be used as a service. So people may be able to request a mission from a docking station, it goes and performs that mission, provides the data and returns back to its docking station.
I think that the future is really bright for drone-in-a-box technologies. I think we need to make sure that we are demonstrating to the UK government that these technologies can be safely integrated into the technologies today. And that's why we're here today, is to make sure that we get that significant body of evidence together to demonstrate to the CAA that these types of solutions will ultimately unlock the skies for the UK.
Throughout this project, we've been working with the UK Civil Aviation Authority to make sure that any pain points and lessons learned are fed back for the benefit of the wider industry. And this is just one of the many ways that the Pathfinder programme is helping to accelerate drone adoption and make sure that the most efficient solutions are available for UK sectors. To find out more, please get in touch.
It was really amazing. It's really good to know that the development of this box was in direct, with contact with the government agencies, so that when it actually goes to production, your customers know that they have all the regulatory certificates and everything that the government might require of them to do their operations.
Yes, absolutely. As I said in the beginning, it's really key for us from day one that we worked with the authorities to ensure that we, not just tick all the boxes, but we work with them to develop the regulatory pathway. That's always been really important for us, because for us it's really key that people start adopting these systems now, whether or not it's extended line of sight or BVLOS or having manual control over the docking station and having someone on site. This helps the industry move forward, because once a drone service provider has 100 missions, 100 flights, and there's no reported incidents, that's really good data. So early adoption is really key, and being an early adoption gets you ahead of the game, if you like. So when the regulations are approved, you're already with us, you're already partnered with us, and you've already got that experience of working with our systems. So really critical project for us. So, you know, doing the project is one thing. The learnings from the project from us has been really important, and I guess it's been three really important factors that we've learned through this. The redundancy of the UAV has been quite a critical factor for regulators. So, as I spoke before around the Mavic series having little redundancy, a lot of the mitigations and software are covering it and minimising that risk. However, the future, we need to think about different redundancy in terms of maybe parachutes, dual battery systems, and the M300 integration was one key learning. The second one was around UTM and radar systems. So UTM and radar will become a way of life for drone docking stations and for drones in general in most airspace. So from March, we're working really closely with Altitude Angel in the UK and Drone Defence in the UK, who provide drone radar systems. So this is a really exciting development for us, where we can partner with these two companies to help establish a full UTM radar solution to mitigate a lot of the risks to both manned and unmanned aircraft when these docking stations are in use. So you'll find out more about that in the future, and as we post more on social media about what we're doing. But that was a key learning for us during this process. And, you know, BVLOS is really topical at the moment, and the regulations around BVLOS don't quite fit necessarily with what we're doing in terms of our docking stations and how they're being used. So part of the use case trials were presenting evidence that we are geofencing the location, we're max sealing height the drone, and it's very well contained. Generally, the areas which it's survey inspecting or securing is a controlled area. So is this actually BVLOS? You know, does it require BVLOS approvals, or is there a way of paving the way for regulations where we can have the docking station is approved, we meet all of the safety mitigations, and then they can be used in that airspace? So there's lots of questions it asked, and a lot of our time with the CAA has been actually fully understanding what is BVLOS, is it the right thing for these systems, and how, if not, how can we then develop regulations and help you, assist you in writing those regulations for the future. So as I said, the next 3 to 4 years, and particularly the next 18 months, will be a real show of what our system has proven, and I'm really excited to be sharing that data with you over the next sort of 18 months. So we've talked about what our system does and some of the UK use cases, but there is an enormous amount of use cases for these systems. You've got railways, for example, track inspection, incident response. These are quite linear sort of operations. You then got construction sites, which is quite a popular use case, particularly around progress reporting, and importantly around the safety of personnel on site, and are the personnel on site following the safety regulations? Are they wearing hard hats? Are they in the right place at the right time? And is the construction progressing as it should? We've got offshore use cases. So again, they could be delivery or they could be inspection. Again, further, more linear use case. And then we've got quite another popular use case around security patrols. So whether it's predefined waypoints around a building, or responding to a CCTV activation at a gate or a perimeter fence. And then a use case which we're going to be trialling later on this year around the road network, so particularly motorway network. So having docking stations strategically positioned along pain points along the motorways, whether it be traffic incidents or whether it be a traffic collision. The drone can go to that location first, assess the situation, provide live feed to command and control so they can make a informed decision about what resources they need to send to that location. And then lastly, around energy is particularly a popular use case. Solar farms, for example, is very popular in Europe at the moment, where we can send the drone out from the docking station to regularly inspect the assets of that wind farm or solar farm. So yeah, that's sort of brings you to the end of what I wanted to present. Really interested to hear what your questions are and see what we can answer for you.
There's good news for you. We have a lot of questions and really diverse, the diverse from really diverse sections of the audience. So first of all, thank you, Peter, for giving us a really exclusive preview of the fascinating Idiployer 2.3. It looks really amazing with a huge amount of use cases. You for sure has managed to keep the people on their seats, because even I could not stop but just pay really close attention to what was going on. So now let's just open the house for a bit of Q&A. So one of the questions people are asking is, they see a lot of other docking stations with battery swapping mechanisms. So the question is, why did you make the decision that it is definitely not required for the current market, where you are looking to, basically sell the Idiployer 2.3?
Sure. So there's a number of reasons why we didn't do battery swapping. So firstly, that kind of automation, that swapping technology, takes a lot of real estate in the box to introduce. The mechanics of that system and the cost of that system can be quite lengthy, particularly around the maintenance of battery swapping systems and the failure rate of some of the battery swapping systems. So as I said before, there's a market for them, and there is robotics engineers that can probably solutionize some of the problems that I've just sort of described. But a lot of our clients said to us, we don't need the drone to go out continuously. So if there's a security use case, for example, where you need constant perimeter security, then possibly 3 docking stations could perform that task if it's a large structure. So 3 docking stations would be a similar cost to a battery swapping solution. So that you could throw either way about why would you use it. But also there's a lot of clients that said, we just need the drone to go out for a mission, come back, 90-minute charge is absolutely fine, and it can go out on its mission again. So it's that fine balance. Not to say that one day we won't have a battery swap solution. We may go down that route, but at the moment, a lot of our clients who are coming to us don't need that solution.
Thank you for that answer. So the next one is, what does your per month manufacturing capacity look like for the duration of the next 6 months?
So at the moment, we're producing around 6 docking stations per month. That's based on our current growth and our current client base. We've just taken over a new facility over in Reading in the UK, where we can grow that capacity based on demand. We build all our docking stations to order over a monthly cycle. So our production runs every month, and then we ship on the 1st of the month. So we can scale. We have the ability to scale, and it just is very much dependent on clients' requests. So, a lot of our systems are quite bespoke. So some clients may not want the fire system or the security system or the weather station, but because we've made these quite modular and retrofittable, it's easier for us to scale up production of our docking stations. So just to describe the simplicity of how we do that, so we have sort of 3 phases to our production. We have the external structure, which takes less than 40-50 minutes to build. We have the internal frame, which then inserts inside the external structure. Again, it is a day to build that. And then we have the fitting of the electronics and the software integration. And then it's just the add-ons and the finishing. So we have quite a structured approach to the production, all manually built in the UK.
Right, Peter. So, considering the lightness that you mentioned about the docking station and its movability, I had a question. Can you stack your docking stations to provide for a multiple drone use case?
Yeah, so as I described earlier, around the future of our product. So we've already started sort of designing a stack of docking stations. So the way it's designed already is that they are built so they can be stacked. We have the fittings and the parts to be able to do that very simply. We now need to work closely with Flightbase developers around how we then create a mother system, which then controls the 4 stacks above it. But it would significantly reduce the cost of having multiple docking stations on site.
So, Peter, I see that we really have a lot of questions, but unfortunately, we have to wrap up. We are out of time. If anybody from the audience would like to learn more about the Idiployer docking station, then you may visit their booth at 6:30 p.m. UTC. Peter will be there at the virtual stand to answer your questions. You can sign in, you can talk to him live, and you guys can have a direct one-to-one, and Peter will be there to answer your questions. Right? So keep an eye out for the booth visit slot later. Lastly, I'd like to thank you, Peter, for joining us today. This indeed helps everyone expand their knowledge about the potential and the scope of docking stations like Idiployer series, and especially how they apply in United Kingdom, which I don't think is a perspective that anybody else provided. On that note, would you like to share any closing thoughts?
Yeah, no, just thank you very much for allowing me to present today. It's been a really good day. I've watched from the very beginning all the other providers and software providers and security companies and knitting, and it's a really good insight and really good to see that we're all on the same journey, and I'm sure we can all share experience and develop the industry going forward. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Do get in touch if you've got any questions even after this session. Just drop me an email. I'm happy to arrange a call to discuss our solution.
You can go on to the last slide, in which I think your contact details are available for the audience.
Sure.
All right. Then I would like to conclude by thanking everyone for joining us today. Stay tuned. We have 3 more sessions coming up in the next few minutes. Please visit the reception or the sessions app to learn more about the upcoming sessions. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a good night. All right, Peter.
Thanks,
we'll see you
everyone.
soon.
Bye-bye.